It's the ultimate whodunit.
They say they believe someone Wendy knew came to her house. She let them in, and there was a violent struggle.
People can only hide so long.
You know, we want answers.
Even if they solve it, he's not coming back anymore.
I want them to see what they did to me, to my family.
We're going to do everything we can to bring him to justice.
There are currently dozens of unsolved homicide cases across the Coachella Valley. While some local police departments continue to pursue leads, many cases are at a standstill, leaving families without answers. But now we're revisiting those crimes. By bringing these cases back in front of the public, our goal is simple: help families find justice and give the community a chance to help. Each story you're about to hear will include where to send tips or information, because sometimes even the smallest detail can lead to a breakthrough in a cold case.
So it was August 10th. It's the middle of our summer, and we were, I wouldn't say a typical day, but it's just a summer day. When it's hot out here, things change. People are on vacation, some things slow down. But this day, my partner, Lance Mueller, and I were called to a potential dead body that was found in a home. Further investigation revealed a person that was deceased and a victim of a homicide was Wendy Brandt.
Police believe Wendy Brandt was murdered here at her home on Los Palos Road sometime between the evening of Sunday, August 9th and the late afternoon of Monday, August 10th, 1998.
Police responded to Desert Star Ranch at about 6 o'clock Monday evening.
It was a pretty horrific crime scene because unfortunately it appeared that there was a struggle. It appeared that, it was pretty violent, and that somebody that obviously may have known her or acquainted, I would gather that it was going to be an interesting case.
There's just an overwhelming amount of evidence that was collected at that.
This is what Wendy's bedroom looked like after police combed the scene. Each marker you see here is a specific piece of evidence, like blood smears on the floor, latent prints, and even a shoe print at the bottom right corner of this photo. They say they believe someone Wendy knew came to her house. She let them in, and there was a violent struggle.
We discovered some blood and further discovered her body. She was deceased and apparently had been so for the last 24 to 48 hours. It appears that it is a homicide. We're treating it as such.
They started picking up things that she was well known. She was known by people in the equestrian world in our community. And it started obviously building into a life was taken. And there's family and loved ones and friends that care to know what happened. And our job is to find out who to be held responsible.
I was angry because I wasn't there to be there for her. And it just, it was brutal.
And now as the investigation continues, authorities, family, and friends want to know who killed Wendy Brandt and why.
From what I know of her, there's no reason why anybody would ever have a cause to hate her or even be mad at her.
Investigators say she'd been seen on her ranch property during the day. She made a phone call at some point in the evening and went to dinner with someone that Sunday night, but they don't know who. Catherine Carlson and Wendy Brandt were best friends.
She was very happy, very fun-loving, very dedicated to animals. She was a dental hygienist, had carpal tunnel, so she made a decision to change her career, went back to school as a speech therapist, and was in the midst of getting a divorce.
She had married a guy named Bill Hillman, and who really wasn't a very nice person. So they bought a little 5-acre ranch out in Indio. He became involved with a gal who worked in the office where he was working security. And he decided that he would rather be with her than Wendy. And so he kept pushing for a divorce and just kind of tore her apart. That Monday, she was going to be starting an internship in Palm Springs at the hospital. And that's the night before she was killed.
It was disoriented at the crime scene. This was not a random act of violence that happened quickly. In my opinion, it took time, and it was a prolonged struggle.
As soon as Jeremy became part of it, I went down and talked with him along with Mom, and he was so excited and so sure that he was going to be able to solve this, and I was really had some hope.
I spent probably about 3 to 4 years going through every piece of evidence I could find, which was kind of challenging because of the way the process was back then before computers. So it took a couple years. And so we were dealing with a couple hundred pieces of evidence, so you can imagine what the evidence logs look like. And we ultimately went down each list and processed everything we could all over again using new technology. That ultimately did give us some leads, if you will. It gave us a small lead to work on. We ended up with an unknown male contributor and a very low-level DNA profile. So that is something that can still be used to help solve the case.
She went through a divorce, so it was an ex-husband. She was attending College of the Desert, so there's people there. And then she had a Christian relationship. You know, the Christian community is very big, and there's all kinds of things and events and activities they do.
I always thought that her husband killed her because at the time she died, her father's estate was settled, and so she was coming into some money, and that was what he really loved, was money.
I think he was smart enough that he wouldn't have done it himself, but I think he might have hired somebody to do it, and he had a very shady background from my understanding. He was a heroin addict at a young age. Just after it happened, he wanted to meet with Mom and I, and he was just saying over and over again, "You don't think I did this, you don't think I did this." And I said, that's kind of strange that he would be that way. But then he was talking about that he had a really high-powered lawyer and he was not going to get blamed for this.
So the investigation into Bill is an obvious no-brainer. Everybody goes after the ex-husband, the ex-wife, whatever, during a divorce. They were in the middle of a divorce. There was really nothing to show that Bill was the person. I think there was, in fact, some things to support that he was not. We do know that Wendy went to dinner with somebody, an unknown male, at an Italian restaurant in the city of Indio the night before she died. We don't know who that male was. However, we do know where Bill was. So we do know that that person was not Bill. And that was through initial interviews back in the day, and that was also through follow-up interviews that I myself did. So I don't really rule him out, but I'm not looking at him as my primary. There was 2 other murders. I can't get into too much detail on them because those are open investigations. One was in the city of Palm Desert, one was in the city of Indian Wells. They were a little time before Wendy's murder, like approximately 10 years or more. However, there was extreme similarities in the crime scenes on one of them. One of them, the crime scene was almost a split image. The victim was found in the bathtub. She had ligature strangulation. The bathroom door was locked, but the body was dumped at 49 and 4th in the canal, right about a block from Wendy's house. And I used a photograph of a suspect that they had in those 2 murders, and I put together a lineup. And then I went and recontacted witnesses from Wendy's house, who like ranch hands and stuff like that. And they ultimately ID'd that person as being at Wendy's ranch on 2 different occasions. So now I have this potential serial killer, if you will, at Wendy's house sometime before she died, within the 6-month window, I think it was. There was 2 times that the witness remembered seeing that person. So there's a connection. So he's obviously a potential suspect. That person is currently in custody on unrelated charges, doing a pretty long term for parole violations on sex crimes. and he had a long rap sheet in the city of Indio for committing sex crimes. I ultimately did write a search warrant, obtained his DNA from the prison that he was housed at, and his sample was uploaded into the database through DOJ and tested against some of our evidence.
Indio police responded to Desert Star Ranch at about 6 o'clock Monday evening after they received a call about a possible missing person.
Anytime somebody goes missing, gets murdered or something like that, we obviously look at who's the reporting party. And in this particular case, Wendy was reported missing by a school teacher. She was taking night classes for some stuff that she wanted to get certified in. And that teacher ultimately reported her missing from missing class on one particular day. I don't know about you, but I have kids. My kids stay home. They don't get reported missing. There was another detective back in 03 and 04, actually went and interviewed this college professor. The college professor did provide fingerprints, but unfortunately when they rolled the prints, they weren't usable. They kind of messed up on them. And when they recontacted him, he lawyered up. And so that was suspicious in itself. I get it though. I mean, but nobody ever went back. Nobody ever went back to get those prints redone, and then nobody ever got his DNA. His is the only DNA we have not got, but everybody else has been eliminated as a contributor, meaning the serial killer guy, the husband, the ranch hands, like he's the only one I've never got his DNA. If you look at the crime scene, you look at the way she was drugged down the hallway, you know, the fight, the struggle, the attack, that's not money. To me, that's not money. That's a passion crime.
He felt that they really could close the case, they could find the murderer. Well, that never happened. And so I understand now that Jeremy is no longer, has retired and is no longer with the force. So I've had absolutely no contact with anybody at all.
It's always there, and it's always gonna be there. Someday, hopefully, before I move on to another world, I get to see this get resolved. And then, you know, I'd love to do another interview, you know, but it's always going to be there.
We're trying to have closure for the family and friends, but also the police department or people that investigated the case, that it's still a memory. Who was it? We want to close it so that if the public, if there's something there, all I could do is encourage that. Don't make the decision that you don't think it's valuable enough. Let law enforcement do that.
Catherine Carlson is hopeful and says she believes justice will eventually be served for her best friend.
Oh, I miss her terribly.
It was just, everything was what I would say perfect, what I thought was perfect until that day.
Who shot him? They're gonna drive by.
Where were you the night that it happened? I had gotten out of work and I came to see her at her boyfriend's house because they were there to do laundry and they were going to come home. They were going to eat dinner at my mom's and I was going to pick them up afterwards. And they weren't there. They went to go get something to eat. On my way home, she called me and I said, oh, I didn't see you. And she, we had a good conversation. And I was just telling her how proud I was of her. She was such a good mom. And I said, I'll see you later. And she told me, I love you. That's the last time we talked.
My niece was walking from her boyfriend's house with her baby. They were walking to my parents' house. My parents live on San Diego Drive, and they were walking with their baby who was 3 months old. They stopped because their friends lived in this house. Also, my mother's neighbor, Agustin, was walking to the Agua Caliente Park with his son. He had just gone off work, and they crossed paths. They saw their friends here. They stopped to say hi, and that's when we were told that what looked like a PT Cruiser came from San Diego Drive, turned onto Asistencia. From what we were told is they said, "Where are you from?" Yanis was here with her baby in the stroller.
All they seen was guns coming out, and they couldn't believe it.
It was a drive-by. Do you remember what the car looked like? No, I don't know what kind of car it was.
We just heard some shots fired.
You just heard shots? Okay.
Drive-by shooting in the Dream Homes neighborhood on November 2nd.
Everybody tried blocking Yanis, and it seemed like everybody got hit. Her sister-in-law at the time, she was shot as well as the baby's father. He was shot multiple times. She was shot once, and it was in her head. She died.
6 people shot in a drive-by shooting. 20-year-old Agustin Garcia and Yanis Mora died.
We love her, we miss her, and it's been a really hard year.
So the first officers that arrived on scene were met with basically chaos. There was 40 to 50 people that were in the street. They observed people who had been struck by gunfire, who were injured. There were people being carried to the officers, pleading for help.
My parents heard the commotion. They were with my daughter. They got up and they came to me. And they didn't even have to say anything. I saw the blood on their clothes, and I knew she was gone.
My husband and I were in the back room, which was an office at the time, and the phone rang. And all I know that I heard him say, "What, Lisa? I don't know what you're saying. Calm down." And he looked at me and he said, "It's Lisa." She said, "Yanis was murdered." And it was like a shock. I couldn't believe what he just said. I just remember I started screaming.
Because I lost my girlfriend.
Tears streamed down the face of 17-year-old Moises Sanudo as he talks about losing his girlfriend, Yanis Mora, to a drive-by shooting in the Dream Homes neighborhood. Sanudo and the couple's son, Isaiah, were also shot.
When he got shot, they let me come in, and they didn't know he was going to make it. He was very pale, and I had to sign papers for blood and this and that. And I held him and I said, "Don't go, Isaiah, stay with me. I love you." And I was crying, it was hard.
He was so tiny when she left, but she would get him and hug him and just be kissing him, and he's like, wanting to cry. No, mi niño. She was in love with her little boy. And I've told him that story because I was there. I saw that because I want him to know just how much she loved him. And maybe she knew she had to give him all these kisses because she wasn't going to be around later.
Yanis's family remembers her as a bright, fun, happy person who touched many people's lives.
She was very friendly. She was very smart. She loved hard. She was very loyal. She wanted to be a probation officer. She wanted to help kids see that people care and they want you to change your life. And she loves soccer. She's great. She's great at sports. She loved to play soccer.
She loved people in general, but she loved her family more. She was a happy girl, funny girl. She could make you laugh out of nothing.
Still no clues to who shot 2 people and left several others, including a baby, injured.
During the course of probably the month or two subsequent to the shooting, there was rumors of individuals who may be involved, and ultimately investigators went out to go and interview those people, corroborate any information that the witnesses may have seen, but ultimately anybody who was interviewed as a potential suspect has been ruled out or has not been able to be tied in as an actual person of interest in this case. The car in question, a light-colored car that we've been told was occupied by more than one, but as of right now, we've only known of one shooter. 2010, the technology isn't like it is now. The processing of evidence and scene documentation isn't like it is now. So it was a little more difficult then than it would be now.
Augustine was somebody's dad, somebody's brother. Yanis, this has been so hard on us because their children are old enough to ask what happened, and we can't give them those answers.
Cathedral City Police say they have no suspects and the case is at a standstill.
I'm sure there are people, maybe not specifically in that community right now, but who were there then, who probably know more than what they do. And with a case like this is probably the biggest key to put this case together, is for people who know information, who were there, who have seen, or even others who were loosely affiliated with potentially the suspects. We need people to come forward, and ultimately we need that community support and help to put this case together.
Knowing Yanis, she was bigger than life. Everybody says that, but this little girl could touch anybody's heart. And for this to go on, and her son growing up, not even knowing her, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking seeing the whole family and just feeling the void of her every day. It's every day we feel it.
We want justice. It's not asking for too much. We want answers. I would like for somebody to go in and with a fresh set of eyes, unbiased, and try to give us answers and solve this case.
When people do things like this, it doesn't just affect the person you did it to. It affects all the people that love that person.
I don't want street justice. I want someone to go to prison, and I want them to see what they did to me, to my family, to my grandson. That he was raised without his mother that loved him very much.
He always said it's a safe neighborhood. He walked every night at night and nothing happened, We don't even lock our door when he walked because he feels safe. But this happened.
How did you meet Edward?
Through work. He's a MRI tech and I'm a respiratory therapist. We're happy. It's like the only challenge we have is when we have our daughter. That's the only thing that tested our relationship because now we have a little girl to take care of and stuff like that. So I have to keep up my career and stay at home. I'm not working. He wants to take care of the dishes, wants to take care of the laundry. He'll, like if we go on vacation, when I wake up, all our luggages is all washed and clean and everything. That's how he is, how he was.
What is she doing? When did she get married?
When she was 2 years old, I think 2012. Those years that we're together, it's a solid years that we're always together. That solid years, that's just the good memories.
My friend who lives down the street here knew him a little bit. Apparently he was quite a bodybuilder. And I remember driving by the garage and he had all these weights and the cages and everything in there. And my friend told me that Ed was in superb condition and had talked to him. He's a very nice guy.
He always stay on his night shift. He's a night owl too anyway. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, he's off. And he will walk every day. So we will walk around 10 o'clock. Sometimes I'm worried about him walking at night. I even told him just bring a stick or something because I'm worried about the coyote, But he thinks it's a safe neighborhood.
And there are a lot of people that walk in the evening, especially if it's warm. The old saying, it's a quiet neighborhood. Nobody ever does anything, which is not true. Most neighborhoods have some problems. We have some vandalism prior to all this, but nothing serious.
Yeah, he worked that night, but I don't know what time. I'm pretty sure it's late because he's kind of upset because we kind of eat dinner late because he doesn't want to walk. You know, his belly's full. So I know he walked late that night. So when I wake up at 4, usually I see him here passed out, you know, watching TV, or in the bedroom. He's not. So I'm like, maybe he's in the backyard. I look at the backyard, he's not there. So I'm kind of like, my thought is, you know, running already. I said, maybe he walked and he passed out somewhere, have a heart attack or stroke. So I wake up Gabby, went to the car. I said, let's drive. My thought is like, let's go drive where I know his route, you know. So this is where I went. I went Kentucky straight. Then I see all the cops, you know, like all the lights.
So it was the next morning. I usually walk the neighborhood. It's a nice neighborhood. So I was up there probably 9, 10 o'clock walking up Tennessee Avenue, and I ran into a neighbor there, and he said, "Did you hear what happened?" And I said, "No." He said, "You didn't hear the gunshots." He was right there. His home was right adjacent to where it happened. And he said, "No, I heard 5 or 6 shots." There's been speculation that it was a hit. I have no idea. I was here the next morning. The body had already been taken away. One neighbor here told me this was the spot. On the street, not the driveway. That's all we knew at the time.
After that day, we went home, and then they come back and they said they identify him, that's him. But in my mind, it's still, because I didn't see him. They didn't let me go, you know, see him beside him. I didn't know, I didn't identify. They won't let me see him. So in my mind, still like maybe he's somewhere, you know? They gave me the urn, and that's what I realized, oh, he's really gone.
And so I noticed that when I talked to other people, that I'm not going to go walking for a while, definitely not at night. So that did have an impact. That lasted probably a couple of months.
Benjamin Briones, charged with murder. Charges stem from the suspicious death of 93-year-old Gene Wilrick. Briones was a self-employed pool serviceman who Wilrick had recently fired. Police say they connected Briones to the crime after he deposited one of Wilrick's checks at a nearby ATM. Officers say that he admitted to, quote, punching her with open and closed fists because she wouldn't stop screaming.
People were talking about that one too. They had apprehended the murderer at that point. So you could kind of say, all right, we can relax on that one, but is this a trend? Who's next? So yeah, it was edgy for quite a while.
Because every time I call, all they said is they're following up some lead, but they can't tell anything to me. The only thing I really remember is he told me that your husband's not doing anything bad. He's a good man. Because I guess some people get killed because they did something. So that's the only thing he can tell me, assure me.
A gentleman that lives down this other end of Tennessee here said that he saw I think a dark van drive by right about the time that would have fit, but no license plate, nothing like that. But this street takes you back to California, you can go straight to Fred Waring and you're out of here. So the escape route, they knew how to get out of here.
Maybe someone knows something, or maybe they think it's a small things, but it's not. They can call the cops and say what they think may be important or maybe can help.
People can only hide so long. Somebody else knows something. It's almost always the case. But they don't always speak up. Maybe they're afraid to.
For me, I'm just leaving it up to God. In His perfect timing, it will be solved. And like I'm saying, even if He's not coming back, you know, even if they solve it here and He's not coming back anymore.
Again, local departments are encouraging anyone with information to reach out to the appropriate tip line. Now, there are still dozens of unsolved homicide cases that we still have yet to discuss, and we'll be continuing the search for answers and justice on Coachella Valley Cold Cases.